Welcome, my friends, to the darkest corners. Today's tale will be about demonic church. Enjoy.
The Church of Hollow Hill. There's a small town tucked away in the Appalachian Mountains called Hollow Hill. Nobody puts it on a map anymore, not since the mines dried up and the last train left the station. But the locals who still cling to the valley's crooked roads whisper about a place that should never be visited. It sits on the edge of Hollow Hill's oldest cemetery, an abandoned church that the forest is slowly reclaiming. They call it St. Anselm's, though the name has been lost to the rusted plaque above its rotting doors. They say the church is a gateway, not to salvation, but to hell itself. The first visit. When I was 17, I didn't believe the stories. I was one of those kids, restless, reckless, hungry for something that felt real. My friends and I were drawn to the church the way a moth is drawn to a flame it doesn't understand. It was early October when we went up there, drunk on cheap beer and the thrill of scaring each other. We parked our car by the overgrown path and stumbled through the briars, flashlights cutting pale arcs through the trees. The church looked smaller than I expected. Sagging beams, broken stained glass, vines clutching its walls like bony fingers. The front doors were chained shut, but someone had already kicked in a side window. Inside, the pews were rotted and warped. Hymnals lay scattered on the floor, their pages stuck together by mildew and mouse droppings. And yet, the air was colder than it should have been. So cold our breath fogged in front of us, even though the night outside was warm. Someone, maybe kids like us, had spray-painted "Welcome to Hell" behind the pulpit. We laughed when we saw it, but none of us wanted to get too close. There was a trap door behind the altar, half hidden by a broken wooden cross. We gathered around it, daring each other to lift it open. I still remember the sound it made, a groan like old bones cracking. The smell that rose up from the darkness was wet and sour, like a grave left open too long. We dropped a flashlight down. It hit something soft and rolled off. We didn't see what it landed on, but we heard something move. That was enough for most of us. We ran. We made jokes the whole way back to the car, pretending we hadn't heard whispers echo up from that hole, pretending we hadn't seen something shift in the shadows beneath the church floor. The town's secret. After that night, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I asked my grandfather about St. Anselm's. He spat on the ground and told me never to say that name again. He said the church was built over a sinkhole. The miners who first settled Hollow Hill called it the Devil's Throat. Some said it was a bottomless pit that swallowed 2 entire mine shafts. They sealed it up with stone and wood and built a church on top, trying to bury something they couldn't explain. For years, the church was the heart of Hollow Hill, but strange things happened inside its walls. Parishioners would vanish, children would speak in tongues. The priest hanged himself from the belfry one winter's night, and when they cut him down, they found scratches inside the bell that looked like claw marks. They boarded it up after that, but some doors don't stay closed forever. Going back. It's been 15 years since that night. I left Hollow Hill as soon as I could. I thought I'd buried that place in my past, until I got a call last month. My mother passed away. Her last wish was to be buried in the old family plot. That plot sits behind St. Anselm's. I came back alone. I stayed with my uncle, who warned me not to linger after dark. He wouldn't say why, but his eyes told me enough. The day of the burial, the sky was gray and swollen with rain. The preacher from the next town over did the service. When the final prayer was said, the wind shifted, and I swear I heard singing coming from the church. A low, mournful hymn that rose through the rotting walls like smoke. Nobody else seemed to hear it, or maybe they pretended not to. That night, I drank too much whiskey in my uncle's shed and made the worst decision of my life. I took my flashlight and headed back up the hill, drawn to that church like a fish on a hook. The descent. The side window was still broken. I crawled through, careful not to cut myself on the jagged glass. Inside, the air was colder than winter. I could see my breath drift toward the pulpit. The trapdoor was waiting, just like before. Except this time, it wasn't closed. It gaped open like a hungry mouth. I should have left, but I didn't. I pointed my light down and saw stone steps winding into the dark. They looked older than the church itself, slick with moss and something darker. I don't remember how long I climbed. Time stretched down there. Seconds felt like hours, hours like seconds. The air grew hotter as I descended, thick with the stink of sulfur and wet earth. When I reached the bottom, I found a cavern lit by a red glow that pulsed like a heartbeat. In the center stood the remnants of an altar, carved from black rock that shimmered like oil. Figures moved in the shadows, shapes that might have been human once, but now were twisted things that crawled and slithered and wept blood from empty eyes. They didn't see me at first. They were focused on the altar, where something massive shifted in the gloom. A shape too big for my mind to hold. It breathed, and the stone walls trembled. I swear it spoke to me, not with words, but with a voice that slid into my skull and filled my veins with ice. Come closer. The escape. I don't know how I got out. I woke up lying face down in the graveyard behind the church. My flashlight was gone. My shoes were soaked in something that wasn't mud. My uncle found me at dawn and dragged me back to his house. He didn't ask what I'd seen. He didn't have to. He said the church feeds on those who seek it out, that it's a door that only opens when you ask to see what waits on the other side. I packed my bags that afternoon. I don't know if I'll ever come back to Hollow Hill, but sometimes, when I close my eyes, I hear the hymn again, drifting up through the floorboards, calling me back down those stone steps. And I know that door is still open, waiting. If you ever find yourself near Hollow Hill and you see that broken church at the edge of the woods, turn around. Don't look inside. Don't listen to the whispers. Some doors should stay shut.